discipline is doing the things you don't want to do. Like,
Because you do that in training, you're getting out that aggression and that stuff in training. So then in your normal lives, it's not really there because it's
Boxing is like it's the best sort of form of meditation that I know because you have to live 100% in the
Contact
moment.
sport because
I feel better now.
hello, my name is Lucy Davis and welcome back to my YouTube channel. And today I am joined by three absolute gorgeous specimens of men from around the world to talk about a subject very, very dear to my heart, believe it or not. So today we are going to be talking about the warrior spirit, the transformative power of boxing. Now, I often get messages from people, why do you do boxing? Why do you do Thai boxing, Lucy? Why do you want to fight people? Like, what's that about? And I don't know why. I've spoken to Paul and I've spoken to Ricky about this over the years. And I'm really confused how I always end up back in the boxing world. Like I try and run away from it a little bit. And then for some reason I get swept in. I meet people. I all of a sudden bump into professional boxers. I end up, somebody reaches out to me asking for like to help get them sponsorship or something like that. Like, it's really intriguing that the MMA, the boxing, and the fight world always seems to lure me back in, which is fascinating. So today I am absolutely delighted to be joined by one of my absolute best friends and soul brothers, Paul Mann. He is a professional boxing coach, but he has been a professional fighter as well over the years, but he's a professional boxing coach out of Wolverhampton. So ladies and gents, if you would like any of the details on these three amazing men, it's going to be in the description field of this video. So if you want to figure out where Paul trains people, you'll be able to find that. If you want to find anything about the promotions or any upcoming details, please do check out the description field. So Paul and I met a number of years ago off when I was doing the protests back in the days around the COVID situation. And we became very, very good friends. Like we've become soul brother and sister. He has my back and I have his back. And I made a bit of a huge prediction about 2 years ago, Paul, about Paul. And I basically said, in 2 years' time, your life is going to change. Your boxers are going to all of a sudden start hitting the big time, the big money. Life's going to change. Literally 2 years to the day that took place. So I am so excited to have Paul here with us today. I'm also absolutely over the moon to have Ricky Colosimo with us, who is, again, one of my best friends, who is in Australia, Sydney, Australia. We have been on one heck of a journey together. If you've read my book, this is the man that's in the book. You guys will all recognize the name. He is an absolute inspiration. He has literally made me change my life without him even realizing it by kicking me up the arse when we met, when we were training in the gym. Ricky's a phenomenal boxer. It's very, very rare to see somebody who trains like Ricky does. The ethic, it is absolutely unbelievable. Very, very inspirational. He's had an amazing amateur career, was going to go on to do big things. Injuries and things took place. Then he did go back to professional boxing, but now he has actually stepped into the role of a promoter and has an amazing series of shows that are taking place in and around Australia. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And I don't think I need to give much of an introduction to the last one. Joe has become a very good friend of mine over the last few years as well. Joyce, ladies and gents, heavyweight boxer here in the UK. I think a lot of you will know him and follow his journey. He is on one heck of a ride. And I thought, what better group of people to get than three people that I class to be friends, close friends, and people that I really, really love to speak to get their insights and their inspiration on how boxing really can be transformative rather than what people look at as the brutal sport, which, don't get me wrong, we know that blood gets shed. We've all taken a punch or two in our time. And so we get that side of it. But today is all about, how we activate that spirit warrior. So first and foremost, let's hear a little bit more about your past. So, Paul, I'm going to come to you first. Like, how have you ended up being a professional boxing coach? Like, what's made you successful as a coach?
first of all, I just want to thank you, Lucy, for doing this. And it's all, as I always say, all by the grace of God. Grace of God, higher self, universe, is all aligns. And I know Joe, met Joe, Ricky. I just feel like I know you so much, brother, reading Lucy's book, and just being so close to Lucy, she does talk about it quite a bit,
Yeah,
and it's all
nice.
positive. So all by the grace of God, He puts you into this position, and um, boxing is one of them places where it's like a saving place as well. It's a saving grace for so many people, especially people who have been traumatized, been through hell, been through real dark, dark places. This is a salvation place, and we're not just trainers, coaches, promoters, managers. We are also like social workers, father figures, brothers, friends, sisters, mothers. Where everything, it's a collective of everything when you come into this. And being in the fight industry all my life, started off with Taekwondo, like British champion and that when I was a kid. Then losing my father, who was a big, big figure for myself, and just going through that whole rigmarole of trauma, abuse, everything that a lot of, I'm not saying that everybody, but majority of us come from that background. And this is like our saving place where we come through. And yeah, I'm just so grateful and privileged and honored to be part of this beautiful sport we call boxing.
Absolutely. And I love actually something that you just said, Paul, because we've actually been speaking about doing this video. I've been speaking to all of you about doing this video for such a long time. And then all of a sudden, boom, it was, we've been able to get it set up very quickly before obviously Joe steps back into his fight camp. So Rick, how did you, because you do break the mold, don't you? You didn't come from, getting in, well, I don't know, maybe you did, but you didn't come from like having to fight for survival. I
Yeah.
think you break the mold where boxing is concerned. And it's such a beautiful, inspirational story that you've got, because boxing has saved you in so many ways, but it wasn't in the way that most other people get saved. So how did you get involved in boxing, and how have you now obviously evolved into what you're doing?
Yeah, I feel like when I was younger, I had five older brothers. I've got five older brothers, and they used to pick on me when I was young. And so it was more of a thing about fighting and getting my respect through that. And so I started doing the boxing, and I found out it was pretty much my North Star. So at different times in my life, when it's been super, super hard, I've turned to the boxing, and it's pretty much saved me. And so at different times, I had times when I was going to break through, and that hasn't happened due to injuries or whatever it was. I mean, 2 years ago in Australia, I was scheduled to fight for the number one spot in the welterweight division. And unfortunately, just 2 weeks before the fight, I end up sustaining a pretty bad injury. But during that camp, I was sparring guys like Xander Zayas, who's one of the top super welterweights in the world, and Nikita Tszyu, who's very well known in Australia. And for me, it was never about the opponent. It was about myself. And I wasn't really fighting them. It was fighting my own limitations. And I feel like boxing for me has been a vehicle to really transform. And it's been an amazing journey doing it.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because this is the bit that a lot of people miss. It is about you versus you. It's the discipline
Mm.
within you, like getting up and having to go running, getting up and having to go training when the last thing you want to do and it's -4 outside is go running or go training, and you have to do it. Like it is literally you against you. And the actual fight bit is just a tiny, tiny, tiny piece of it. Whereas most normal, if there is such a thing, innocent people just watching the sport on television, they think it's all about that. It's all about making each other bleed and hurting each other. Thanks, Rick. It's so inspirational. I love hearing you share on that. So, Joe, how did you get into boxing?
Oh, I was like a sportsman growing up. Like started with the swimming and the kickboxing, kung fu. I mean, actually, I started with karate. Actually, that was my first taste of martial arts. With the gi on and everything. Like obviously inspired by Karate Kid and stuff like that. Trying to catch the fly with the chopsticks, but yeah, that which progressed on to like yeah, kickboxing, kung fu, and bit of Shaolin. But like when I started boxing, because I tried a load of sports growing up, like rugby and swimming and stuff. But then it wasn't until I started boxing that I realized that I found my sport, and this is something where I could get successful in. I started at the age 22 in Oswald Amateur Boxing Club. Um, But what I liked about it was the contrast to martial arts. Like martial arts was ended up being about the grading and getting the belts and that, but boxing is kind of more Like you get the belts later on, but like it's more about improving you like all your techniques and being the best you can be, and like obviously keep on improving like week to week, month to month, and like it it's so complicated. Like as you when you start, you're worried about where you put your feet, where you put your hands. You got you got to think about throwing your hands as well and like keeping the technique right. And then you got all that down, and then like you start sparring, and then someone's trying to hit you now, so it's a lot more complicated because you got to remember all these things, and you got someone attacking you. So right, they're doing that, and then so it does take a lot of years
And
to
then
to to master. And even when you've got everything there, you don't need to worry about any of that. Then there's like more techniques, and there's psychology, there's physicality, there's so many aspects to it, like spirituality and like because there's a lot of energy like there's focus on that ring with the two opponents, and all that goes along behind each of the fighters. They've had like a long journey and a long story to get where they got to, because most sports to reach excellence you need 10 years, so 10,000 hours. and
wow.
um and you imagine like this, the backstory of the two opponents in the ring, like what they went through to even get them there, like the psychology and everything, and
I love
be able
that.
to do that. Yeah.
What you said there, Joe, is something which resonates with me really deeply, because I'm learning Spanish at the moment, like really quite intensely. And it is like learning a new language. It's like learning a whole new thing when you learn boxing, or when you learn Thai boxing, or when you learn a martial art. And I think it's I a lot of people think it's literally just you jump in a ring and you fight, and it's not about that, is it? It's the sheer discipline, it's the sheer toning. I mean, I've done quite a bit of training over the years with Rick. Also I've done a bit with Paul, and it's the footwork drills that Ricky used to put me through were horrendous, like horrendous. And it's just, he was like, yeah, well, I've been doing this for this amount of time and I have to do it, and I was like, God, this is like way too much. And I had professional fights, so for me, like it's such a beautiful insight, and it is so humbling. And I'm hoping that that's what this video is going to do. Is it's not about being a brute, it's about the discipline, it's about the hours, and it's about the dedication that we give to ourselves to prove that we can do something bigger and better than ourselves. So this might be a bit of a provocative question, but I'm going to ask it anyway, because that's me to a T. What's the boxing environment like? Or in fact, what has the boxing environment been like about 5 years ago? So if we go back 5 years, and I know all of you were involved in at that point. So what was the boxing environment like 5 years ago? Do you remember, Paul?
Yeah, yeah, I remember it clearly. And it's
18.
so just before, is it, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, just before it was just before COVID. And Rick, I know that you've started promoting. Like I've been promoting for years. Like it's others got the promotion license, but BCB, we've been going since 1999. So like, I started doing it in 2007. Started putting the shows, and like we do like roughly about 22 to 30 shows a year. It's not
Mhm.
good because it's financially it's the right burden. And just before COVID, we were just about to hit like our lads at that. I mean, like at the moment, I think on the books, I've got about 68 professional fighters, 54 amateur. And we was just doing that much and going so well. And then suddenly that happened and the crash happened. But however, it was one of the best things that could have happened to me, because suddenly, always being on the B side, we was always on the B side. Our lads had to fight their way to get there and get to these positions. We didn't have all the backing. Um,
So
I
what
don't know
you
if you agree with this, with this, Joe. Like because in London and that, they seem to get more looked at, the fighters just Finchley and all the other different amateur boxing clubs they got there, Peacocks and everything. They got to get it a bit more looked at than the Midlands from where I'm from. So like
Yeah,
we're building all these kids up, trying to get their records to a certain level, and we did. Come post COVID, we just about hit it, but then COVID come along, and Eddie Hearn done the shows at his house, and he started. So that's when we started picking up again,
oh,
Lucy.
sorry,
Yeah,
Paul, just to keep it really on point. So what you're saying is the boxing environment is extremely competitive to get noticed.
Yeah.
Right. It's extremely competitive. It's really,
Yeah.
really challenging
Yeah.
to get to the point where all of you have been successful by having professional fights, by becoming promoters, and by actually, I mean, obviously, Joe's done amazing things with his career. So by actually getting to this level of recognition, like you've pretty much had to go through hell. And I mean, I obviously wasn't necessarily that deep in the boxing world at that point, but I was in the MMA and the Muay Thai world. And that's kind of why I wanted to know what it was like 5 years ago for you guys. Like, so it was competitive, it was hard going, there was always favorites. And I think this is, Rick, I don't know if you can comment on this, but for me, from what I see about boxing's always about having favorites whose face fits. Is that fair to say, or not really?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely.
Back then anyway.
Yeah. I think now it's there's always the A side and the B side in the fight game, and before you pretty much a lot of the fights, if you knew they were close, they were going to go to the A side, and it's a big thing that I'm trying to do with my promotions is make it a lot more even, and the best man wins. But it's a challenge, but that's what I'm aiming for.
Good for you. Good for you. And I guess, Joe, you've probably been at the hands of that, right? Some shitty decisions and some, some things that you were perhaps like, hey, hang on a minute, that didn't feel right to me.
Yeah, like I've seen and also seen and experienced like firsthand, like what you're saying, like from the very beginning, like from like more domestic level fights in the amateurs. Like you'd see like some clubs, like you'd see two fighters box, and you'd be like, right, and I reckon boxer A is clearly winning this, and then say boxer B wins, but because he's like from a bigger club or something, so you see dodgy decisions from like the beginning of your career to the end, like to the end, all the way to the end. There's always and the clear one was obviously the Olympics for me, where you know, the stats don't lie. Like I won every single round, and then I didn't get the decision. So it's like, but it's like I didn't find it surprising because like I'd seen some like I got into the sport late, but I noticed a lot of I noticed it going through. Like there could be sort of a no-name club from somewhere, two boxers like one clearly wins, but because he's from like a no-name club, that he doesn't get the decision. And like, like, but I've seen it all the way through to the top. So,
Joe, I'm going to start with you on this one. How do you think that? What do you feel like you've learned from those experiences? Like, let's look at your Olympic experience, not getting that decision. What gold can you see came out of that in reality now, looking back? Obviously, at the time, it was probably like a punch in the gut, but is there benefits now that you've seen that have helped you get where you've got?
maybe not so much pressure on me to like because I guess when you got when you're a gold medalist, then you have like everyone's attention focused on you, and you're very scrutinized and stuff. And maybe I wasn't supposed to have that scrutiny just yet, and I was supposed to build up. And I don't know.
Yeah, beautiful,
There's
beautiful. How about you, Rick?
different scenarios and timelines.
For me, I feel like it's the losses for me were actually benefit because at different times back in the day, I remember I beat the Australian champion in the state titles, and they took him. This was when I was fighting as an amateur, and I remember he ended up winning this Australian title again after I beat him, and I remember how cut I was about that, and what that actually set into motion. I believe that everything happens. It's a part of your journey. And for me, where I'm at the moment, I feel like everything's aligned to actually walk this path now. And so none of it's a mistake. And so even the fights or things that didn't go my way, even the injuries, I'm just going to say the young guys when I get up and speak on my next event, it's about chasing your dreams and actually going after it. Because even if you don't get there or you don't get that dream, who you become in the process is the real prize. And different doors open up when you walk your path, and that's exactly what's happened for me.
Love that so much.
Yeah, I agree. It's about it's the journey as well. Like because to get there, but like it's like a whole different lifestyle when you obviously improving yourself and growing as a person. That's what I like about boxing as well, because it's about growth. It's about getting better, and you know and like, because there's differences, like styles make fights, but you can only be the best you can be, and like you can only, have done everything possibly you can in training to get to that point, where you go in the ring and then.
Yeah, Lucy, by the grace of God, you know what Joe's saying there, what Ricky's saying there, not on the fighting side, but just watching it like as a coach as well. I used to have at the beginning, I had all the journeymen. Rick, we had like a big stable of journeymen. We had Peter
Mm.
Buckley, who had 300 fights, Tony Randall, Anthony, and all the ones I fought, Nassim Hamid and everyone. So I'd go there and I used to have one called Steve Geffen, and it absolutely used to break my heart. Like, we'd lose, and you build calluses, not just within yourself, you get stronger. And then when I started taking these lads that we build up, like you're promoting now, you build them up, and then they go and fight on the big stage, and you lose, and you think, "Look, I've invested not just time training them, but also financially as well. You put all that time in them, and then they go there, and you get this decision against you, and it does, especially to where I am now, because I've just had my first world champion when Joe, you fought last in March. That was
Oh yeah.
Liam Davis.
Mhm.
That was my first world champion. I've won that many British titles. I mean, I've won that many national titles. Just I've just won. We just won everything: European, Commonwealth, English, British, and now we just won our first world title. But we did fight for the undisputed before, and I remember going there, and we was actually there in LA on the undercard of Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder won, and it's for the super welterweight title against Jared Hurd. And I said, you've got this kid, but he didn't have that belief with himself, and that knocked me back. And then Lucy, when I was telling you about when we had that big fight with Zach Parker fighting Ryder, and his hand broke, and I sat there and I literally just obviously you just think because he was like a big massive purse. His next purse was like 5 million, like it was huge to fight against Canelo. But there's gold in there because it either breaks you or it makes you. And I think it's made me to where I am now to
And
keep going. And I think that's what's done with you, like Joe, with your loss
so, Paul,
today.
just on
Yeah,
that point though, you train a lot of children, right? There's a lot of kids that
yeah,
you
yeah,
train,
yeah,
right?
yeah. I do. I change children as well.
I would like you to any mums that are listening to this, because there will. I've got a massive female following, as you know. I do have a big male following as well, but I have a massive female following. And it's normally the women that say to me, I don't want my son doing that. Like I've got a number of clients and I said to them, your child needs to do a martial art. And they're like, no, 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 no. I don't want them to get, I'm like, if you want your child to have discipline and to have respect and to have honor, get them to do a martial art. And they freak out about it. What would you say to any of those people listening now? Obviously, they're hearing the heartbreak that you've had and things like that. Like, what would you say to those people? Because it does all sound like it's hard work, what we're talking about at the moment, but there is so much gold and so many gifts that come out, right? So what would you say to those mums listening or dads?
It'll make them so much better. Discipline is doing the things you don't want to do. Like this morning when I went for the run with Mandy, and recently, I'm just saying, Lucy knows because I phoned her first thing. I was in Lanzarote in a training camp 5 weeks ago. Broken my hand. I've just took the plaster off now. I've got like 20 stitches in there now. Broken my the bone broke in there in my wrist. But you carry on because it builds calluses in yourself because you got to carry on. You've got to keep training these. It makes you so much stronger. It makes you so much more health. It's good for your health as well.
Paul, I'm
Boxing is
not
one
sure
of the
that Paul, I'm not sure that's going to be a sales pitch to the mums. I've broken my wrist, everyone.
yeah. No, but I'm just saying that to give up on life because you know what I went through with my three, just Jesse, Lily, and forget about Jack being good, but they had loads of fights. But he makes you so much stronger. It makes you so much, so much, so much wiser as well to the world because you start to observe things and look at things in a better space rather than thinking that chaotic mind of, oh, what's happening here? And getting endorphins, just looking at the phone, constantly looking at the phones. Because kids, this is what's happening with children now.
And
They're
they're getting
constantly on
it.
them phones and they don't want to focus on anything.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so Rick, what would you say to the mums and dads out there going, yeah, I know, but what about the punches to the heads? Like, what if my child takes a punch to the head?
Yeah, well, firstly, just expanding on Paul's point before, I think like the principles that you learn in boxing, they're universal. So if you apply them anywhere, you're going to be successful. And a lot of the key lessons that I've learned in my life have been through boxing, and it's through like dedication, consistency, being adaptable to change. Because when you get hit in the ring, it's often the hits that you don't see coming that hurt you the most. And it's the same thing in life. Like say someone you love dies, something like that, have a bad breakup. It's all those things you don't see coming, which really knock you off your path. And I think the boxing for me has always kept me on that straight and narrow. And I've seen the transformative power it has for the young men, especially. It gives them a direction and a goal to chase, and it also builds that structure into their life. So no matter what they're going to do, say if they're going to go out, if they go off the rails, if they do drugs, if they do different things, that's going to be much worse. So if this keeps them in the gym, keeps them on the straight and narrow, I definitely think it's a much more beneficial path as well.
I love that. That's really, really sound advice there. And just for the people listening, the whole of my Self-Love Club membership program is premised off of my healing journey, which was all through Muay Thai. Like every single bit, the breath work, the meditation, I gained all of that purely by becoming a professional fighter, and people go, they don't kind of get their head around it. But I was angry as heck. Rick will vouch for this because he knew me back then. I was angry. I was like a real angry person on the inside. And it's only by me recognizing my anger and going, wow, this doesn't work. I need to exercise more. I need to eat better. I need to drink more water. I need to take time out. I need to be sat in, like literally in a fight camp. I don't know what it's like for boxing, but in a fight camp for a Muay Thai fight, you literally get locked in your room. You're not allowed to see the sunshine. You're not allowed to see people. They'll feed you a couple of times, but that's it. For 3 days before, you literally are not allowed to go anywhere, do anything apart from getting your hair braided. So of course, what did I do? I taught myself how to meditate. I taught myself how to visualize. I taught myself to see the win. And Rick was actually in my corner for my first fight. And he was like, Tyson wouldn't have beaten you that night. Literally, there was no
Mate,
way.
the look in your eye said it all.
Yes, this sweet little thing that people know now. I actually train in a gym in Spain, and Paul knows one of the professional fighters there, and he always says to me, "Hi, hi, hi," and then I get in the ring and I'm like, "Killer." Just what happens when I put the gloves on. So, Joe, thanks for sharing, Rick. That was really beautiful. Joe, what words of wisdom would you give to parents watching, that are a little bit nervous about their child getting hurt?
Well, I'd say martial arts and boxing specifically definitely toughens you up and makes you more resilient, teaches you how to fight and defend yourself. Gives is like an outlook for people who maybe get themselves into trouble, or gives them an outlook with some excitement and rewards, like and recognition, like some if you want to make a name for yourself, you can make a name for yourself in boxing or in martial arts. And particularly, I like my start in was through martial arts and not through boxing. So martial arts teach you how to be. It's more like you get like the flexibility training, the discipline. There's also like I guess more like kind of the discipline and like the meditation. It's more meditative and stuff. But I think boxing definitely for the young. Instead of like hanging out the street corner somewhere and getting up to no good, they could just channel that into the boxing ring and hit the bag for 3 minutes. You get out a lot of stress and stuff that you could maybe that could have been taken out on someone else, or like start getting into trouble or into mischief and stuff. But it really like gives people an outlet where they can get recognition for for getting better and winning their fights and stuff, and but also like protection. To be able to protect themselves, to be able to protect other people. Like you learn how to fight. It's very important. It's like learning how to swim. I think because like being a swimming teacher, I know that is an important life skill to know how to swim, because you fall into water. You want to be able to how to keep your legs and keep your head afloat. But same way in life, you need to be able to keep your head afloat. So if you get into an altercation or something, you need to know how to defend yourself, and or like you need to be able to defend other people that like maybe not as that are weaker than you, or so you need to be able to. So I think it's very important life skill. So
I actually feel that boxing gives you a voice as well, right? You know, like I know a lot of boxers don't like to speak, like a lot of footballers don't like to speak, but I do feel, you know, and Rick's a really good example of this, is at some point in that journey, you have to find your voice. You have to find, you know, because even if you don't make it pro, like you want to help the younger people, you want to help the women, you want to help like whoever it is, you want to help people. And so all of a sudden you start to find your voice, which is extremely, extremely powerful.
100%. Lucy, you know, touching on that point, I never forget because Joe, I started off in martial arts as well. I remember doing a grading. Yeah, I was 7, and I couldn't even remember my name. I couldn't speak. I was a nervous, quiet kid. Then I went on and won gold and done everything because it builds up that discipline and it builds up that character within yourself and gives you so much confidence. And now I've done like 100,000 people when Tyson Fury fought Dylan White. You know, going through doing 3 fights, like it's just one of the best things you can have.
I actually love what you've just
it's
said there,
different.
Paul, because confidence is lacking so much these days, especially in our men, because the women have
Yeah.
become so bloody strong, you know, and we just
All
are.
that girl power and
Yeah, I
Spice
know girl
Girls and
power, don't you know? Like, we don't need
let's
no
build up
men.
the women. What about the men? Like,
Listen here, boys.
it's like turn the men into
You
I'm
know,
on mute.
yeah, Ricky knows better. He knows what I'm capable of. No, I think it's no, I think it's really important. And this is why I mean, I could have reached out to some female fighters, right? And maybe one day I will, but for me, it's really important to give the men their voice because so many men have had their, sorry to be derogatory here, but their balls snipped by their partners or by their mum or by whoever. And all of a sudden they're in these environments and they don't know how to fight and they don't know how to stand up for themselves and they're literally being bullied, you know. And I just think that boxing is such an amazing way, or martial arts generally is such an amazing way to give a child confidence, to give the child passion, to empower the child to do whatever it is that they want to do. They might not want to be a fighter, but literally just learning the breath, you learn to regulate your emotions, you know. And I just think that this is a skill that should be being taught to absolutely everybody, you know. Give the men their power back, like let the women do their thing as well. But like I think for men, obviously men rely on testosterone. What's the quickest way to do that? Get to the gym, do a masculine sport. You know, it's very, very important. So I'm going to take it in a little bit of a different direction now, because this is, you know, we've spoken about boxing, we've spoken about the current environment. So I would really like us to talk about how this is going forwards. And you three are really, really great examples of men that have stepped into spirituality and you've actually utilized that to create the warrior spirit from within you. You know, people call me the warrior of light always, and I heard that Rick got called that a few years ago, which just made me laugh out loud because, you know, there's so many similarities between mine and his journey. But it's that warrior spirit within, and a lot of people think spirituality is weak and it's, you know, a bit girly, and then boxing is so masculine and so brutal. So how, you know, how have you been able to merge the two? And Paul, I'm going to start with you because I know there's so many people out there that are like, oh, there's the guy that goes around kissing everyone and saying I love you at the boxing show. So let's start with you. I mean, it does, spirituality doesn't need to look like that, but I know that that's your method of deliverance. So how do you feel you're integrating your spirituality in the boxing world?
The difference is, Lucy, now, like, I know I'm not knocking no religion or nothing like that whatsoever. What I'm saying is there's a difference. There's a belief system and then there's a knowing. You just know. And that spirituality, when you've got that within yourself, that you just know that you just love and to be loved. And I had the privilege and the honor, and I'll never forget, man, the day that when you came back into my life and reminding me about that I don't got to keep going around with that masculine, like that big hard man attitude that oh yeah, I'm a coach and I'm a fighter, I'm on this, that. Because the shield, not only does it block things coming in, but it also stops things really coming out. So it's like a shield. It's like a shield. And what it does, it just stops everything. And spirituality lets you do that. Now I can go to everyone. I was recently when I was fighting abroad, when we was abroad and we had a training camp and someone come over there and he's like an enforcer as well. I just looked at him in his eyes, straight looked at him and I said, listen, I said, this might kill you, but I love you, son. I've got nothing. And he was older than me as well, but he's one of these really hard men that says, there's nothing that you got to show me or start talking to me in that way. You can't talk to me like just normal. You don't have to tell me what you've done fighting wise or who you've gone to go and do this to or take money off or anything. Because we have got that in us and it does create love. And they say, how the hell can you have love in such an environment like this? And Ricky, Joe, you both know, and Lucy, you do in the fight game. After the fight, you hug each other because you know what they've been through. You
Mhm.
know they've been through the same pain, suffering, getting up them early mornings,
Yeah,
doing that hard work and doing everything. And you just embrace and you embrace that. And how beautiful is that to see? How
Yeah.
beautiful. I mean, look, Joe, you know, that recent fight that was Fabio Ward and Fraser Clark, you know, at the end of it, there was all that bitter, all the hateness, but at the end of it, because you've just both been through that, through all the pain. So
and
without,
it's that respect that
yeah,
that you've both like gone through to get to that point, and you've
to get to
both
that
like
point,
put it in the
yeah,
put it all
yeah,
down in the ring.
yeah.
And
Yeah, yeah, and that's what it is, and that's what you say, and that's why I embrace everyone like, and that's because we've all been through it. We've all been through that hardship, and this is the two polarities of life, the yin and yang. You need the both. Without the devil, you haven't lived, man. Turn it out the other way. We all say the devil, this devil. Without the devil, how can we realize God? How
Exactly.
can we realize any of this? And without being through hell, how can you appreciate heaven? And this is what it is, and this is what it takes you to. And we've all been there.
Awesome. Thanks, Paul. Really appreciate that. So, Rick, if we just look at your fighting game, if you don't mind, how do you feel things changed when you started to channel that, warrior spirit rather than that I'm just going out there to win? Like when you stepped into that and utilizing this spirituality and really tapping into that energy that we can all tap into, but a lot of people don't. How did things change for you in that way?
It's amazing because I truly feel like there's a level of consciousness, especially when you open to it, it taps into a whole new reservoir of energy. And when I've fought and I've or sparred or been on my A game, and it's like I'm not even there. All I think about is like I'm just channeling, or my body's just a vehicle, and my spirit's going to take me wherever I need to go. And so always, especially when I go out to fight some of the, or spar some of the top guys, these guys, like say for example, Zender Zayas, when he came to Australia, he was blown through every super welterweight in Australia, and I'm a small welterweight, and I got to call up to spar him, and I just remember just before we tapped down for the first sort of bell, I just said, whatever happens, I'm going to prevail. And just it was so when we actually went out there, he even goes at the end, he goes, fuck, he goes, you're giving me my best, some of my best work that I've ever had. And
Amazing.
for me, it wasn't even I wasn't even trying. Like it was happening, and it was just like the energy was taking me. And I feel like when we tap into that, it's amazing.
So talk to me, like, how does that look like to you? Like when you say I tap into that energy, because for me, I know how I tap into it, but for somebody else maybe listening and they're like I love boxing, I'm doing well at boxing, but I can't quite get that warrior spirit to work for me. How do you do it? Like, how do you get connected? Do you visualize it? Like how does that look to you?
Yeah, I take a lot of time to meditate, especially in fight camp. I feel like I'm super tapped in. So every morning I wake up and do some meditation, and but then I do what I do, especially in the nighttime. I put on some nice, good reflective music, and then just get myself in the zone and just close my eyes and visualize like I'm a warrior in that zone. And so I find when I do that, that really locks me in. And then say before any of these hard sparring sessions or big fights that I've had, I would always write down on notes some different intentions, and it would be only short things like I did just little things, and then I would use that each time I sparred, and I would just tell myself those things. And
Beautiful.
I found when I sort of tapped into that, it was my mind aligning with my body, and then it was just I remember one of the fights I had, probably my best fight. I literally went in the ring and I didn't even think about anything that I was going to throw. All it was just focus on your breath and just keep going in that rhythm, and everything will come. So
Love that. I love that because I remember so many conversations of us having these conversations, and you were like, no, it's weak. I love it. Love it so much. So, Joe, how do you tap into your inner? Well, no, I guess the question is like, how do you bring spirituality into your fight camps and into your training? And also, like Rick was just sharing, like, how do you bring that in when you get into the ring?
Well, it's something that, you know, because you do a lot of the, like regularly, it kind of becomes a routine, and like during the training, you're doing a lot of sparring as well. So it is quite similar because you're like practice fighting. So when you're building up to the fight, the sparring's getting harder, and yeah, and obviously there's a lot more on the line. But um you don't go, you know, straight from like just training to boxing in front of like thousands of people. It's like a gradual process. So like you start off um, in an amateur, you know, boxing club, and then you spar for the first time. You're doing sparring, and then like you have your first fight, and then your first fight will be against someone who's had like maybe not had a fight, or maybe had like very few fights. So you're both on the same kind of level, and then it goes like that. But it kind of gets it gets harder and harder like as you know rise through the ranks. So but then you're ready for it because you started from those like the first fights, and then like with like especially amateurs only 3 rounds. So you've done 3 rounds, 3 rounds, 3 rounds until you like get to higher levels where you're doing like maybe more tournaments, and then you know you'd fight more often, and it's like a process that I've found that's helped me to get there.
So would you say that the way that you used to train in amateurs and things like that, you literally just went out to win, whereas now there's much more of a methodology and or methodology more to the point, and that you're just like you can tap into that inner warrior and just basically be like, because as I know, I don't know if anybody else knows, but like you're starting a fight camp imminently. Like how do you switch that? Right, it's time to get your head down and like really, really get focused again now, because surely that is how you would tap into your inner warrior or your spirituality and just be like, right, this is going to hurt at first, but you know what, we've got to get our head down and get into it now.
Well, in my myself personally, I feel like I've kind of always had it, but it's about bringing it out. It's about bringing it out, and uh so yeah, contact sports like, you know, obviously the rugby and um, karate, which I started off in, were kind of ways to like channel that energy, to get out that aggression and channel the aggression into like like a positive way. Like it's also about improving yourself and growing.
Perfect. Because
But yeah,
we do, there is this differentiation, isn't there, between spirituality and like masculine. You know, the masculine has always been told you've got to protect, you've got to provide, but actually that doesn't mean you need to be aggressive. It doesn't mean anything like that. It means that you can channel that inner warrior and actually bring it out in different ways. And obviously boxing is an aggressive sport, let's be honest about it. It's full contact.
Makes you hum.
but it's about like improving yourself as well, like, and improving your physical body.
Exactly. I mean, there's
You
so
know what?
go on.
So you know what, Lewis? I ever since I actually got more serious into it, my aggression outside of the ring became so much more subdued, and you want to avoid any sort of confrontation in that because you know what you're capable of.
Yeah.
And I think you just channel whatever negative is there into the ring, and then you just unleash it there,
I
and it
love
serves
that.
its purpose.
And that's
Yeah,
that.
because you do that in training, you're getting out that aggression and that stuff in training. So then in your normal lives, it's not really there because you've already like got rid of it, like all that frustration or the anger or like whatever you have, like from especially when you're you're in school and you're going through like bits and
Right.
pieces or whatever. You If you're doing a contact sport, you can then channel it out in there, and then you can really make some big hits and tackles and get all that out your system. So when you go back, you're relaxed and calm and balanced.
I love that because I actually say to all of the women that I know that are like, oh my God, I could wring his neck. I'm like, go hit a bag. Like literally just go and do some full contact sport, because
I feel better now.
I'm pleased.
No, I mean, like after you hit the bag,
Oh,
like
I thought you were like, oh, my girlfriend hopefully will hear that.
nah. I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I'm sure the afterwards are like, I feel better now,
Well,
right?
listen, so many men have said to me, I don't know why you still train. And I'm like, trust me, you would not like me if I didn't train. Trust me, I am a bloody head case. There's a head case in here somewhere, right? And the way that I channel, yeah, it's a bit like that. I know she's still in there because the passion is still there. But trust me, this is why I train Muay Thai 3 times a week, every single week. This is why I go running. This is why I do weight training. And weight training is a very different thing. But this is why I say, ladies watching this, stop being angry and blaming your husband or your partner for everything in life. Go do some exercise, go and do some training and let it out. Because all of a sudden, like Ricky and Joe have just so eloquently said, all of a sudden, nothing outside kind of like triggers you anymore, because you're like, you know what, I've released that. I don't need to get angry with that. And I think this is a hidden bonus of martial arts and boxing and full contact sports, is that we actually get to release the built up, this annoyed me, that annoyed me, he did this, she did that. And we actually get to release it all in such a beautiful, controlled way.
But Lucy, you know what?
100%.
Sorry to interrupt.
You know,
I think boxing is like, it's the best sort of form of meditation that I know, because you have to live 100% in the moment, especially when you're in a ring sparring or whatever. You have to be 100% present, because if you don't, you get smacked in the head.
Yeah, a present's a present, and here's a present.
yeah, my present looks like a big fat fist, or with me at an elbow.
Stay present.
Absolutely. I love it. I love that completely. And it's so pertinent. And actually what Rick's just said there, I know Paul will align with this, definitely. I'm not too sure about Joe, but Paul will. You don't have to be sat still like this meditating. You can meditate running, you can meditate walking, you can meditate boxing. Like, you don't need, if you're somebody that's like, I cannot meditate, trust me, when you get in your flow, like Rick says, even if you're just on the bag and you're so present with that bag and you're just working it, you absolutely are meditating.
Well,
Yeah, it
Lucy's
could.
100% correct, man, because you get into that space of no thing. There's no
Mm.
thing, no more thinking happens. Everything finishes. You just get into that zone. And
Love it.
once you're in that zone, that's it. And that's just bliss. And they keep saying that, well, thoughts are powerful. Thoughts is what creates everything. This is how we created everything that we manifest now, and everything, and all the abundance and everything. But you go into that space of no more. There's no more thinking. There's no more anxiety, hate, hurt, pain. You forget all that, and you get into that zone, and you get into that focus, and the universe just aligns with you, and then everything just goes. And it's like, it's when you talk about quantum physics and things like that, and it's unexplainable. It's hard to explain until you do it. But the taste of honey to a mute, ask him what the taste is, and you can't explain it. But once you get into that fear, it's just euphoria. And this is what, when I do them lives every morning, when I do that speech, and I say everything by the grace of God, just do, just go out there and just be. It's beautiful.
Love it. Joe, did you want to say something?
Uh,
You've forgotten.
yeah, I was just listening.
He went to a
Can't
space of
remember.
no thing.
I went into my own space. Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
There's
I
a
was like,
meditation,
I know I'm going
I
to
was
come back to it,
meditating.
and he'll be in
Oh,
nothing
God.
land.
because
Really,
Ricky,
I've gone into
Joe,
nothingness.
like Lucy, Ricky, Joe, you know when you knock someone out, when you hurt someone, yes, you do calculate, but you think, man, I don't even feel that. That shot that I
Mm.
just caught him, I don't really put nothing into it. And is
Yeah.
that nothing?
It's
You just go
Yeah.
amazing.
there, that's nice. Because once you start thinking about it, you're thinking about it, then
Yeah.
you get caught in that body shot because you thought about the headshots. That body shot gets you and you go down. And he says, how do people go down on a body shot? Yeah, they're taking the medicine ball and it's been smacked in their stomach and they can't feel nothing. They can't feel nothing, but yet a body shot drops them. How come a body shot drops them? Because you've relaxed, you've took your mind off the ball, because you've gone into chaos mode. You're
Yeah.
there smacking on the head, you're smacking them on the head, sorry, boom, catches you, or the uppercut catches you and you get knocked out.
I love it.
Mm.
So I would like to know from each of you how you think the boxing world is going to evolve, because this is my perspective. I truly believe that I am sat here with 3 people that have been put on the planet to change the world of boxing. Like, and I genuinely believe that. I've been saying it to Rick for as many years as I've known him, 10, 12 years. and obviously Joe, our paths crossed a few years ago, Paul, our paths crossed maybe a year or so before that. And I truly believe that I am meeting people now. Elliot Whale is another example. He is somebody that's come in to change the world of boxing. And there's other people out there, but let's just talk about you guys that are here. How do you see the world changing in boxing from what it was? Face has to fit. You have to be in the right country, or you have to be from the right town, or like depending, if you're on your home turf and stuff. How do you see it evolving into what I call the new earth? Because I truly believe, and people always say to me, no, boxing won't go to the new earth. There's no way more martial arts will. I genuinely believe that they will, because they instill such good values and such discipline. And we need discipline in a new world, right? Otherwise, we're going to have a shit show like we've got today. So, Paul, how do you see the world changing for you? And, because I know that you're massively on a mission to change the world that you guys are in. So explain that to me, please, babe.
Each and every single day, I'm just promoting that you must, and this is Lucy coming because you reminded me about loving yourself. And when you start to love yourself, you do start doing the breath work. You start to drink more water. You start to eat more alkaline, clean foods. You start to your whole life starts to change because you start to do more discipline. I think boxing, the way we do it now, because it's so, even those people see it as so brutal, but it's very, very organized in that sense that you start to look after yourself so much more in your health. And once you start looking at your health, you are wealthy, man. And then you will inspire others as well
Okay, so what you're
because
saying
you're healthy and wealthy.
So what you're saying is, by people learning to invest in
Yeah.
themselves, like the
Well,
vibration is going to change within the boxing
yeah.
world, right? So rather than it
Yeah,
being
each
about how
one
much purse
teacher.
they're going to get and where they've got to be and all the rest of it, it's actually going to be a vibrational shift. I love that. Thank
And
you.
you're the shining light for everyone. Shining light for everyone every time you're on the front of it. Especially like Joe, the privileged position that you're in. I mean, Ricky, you're in. When you're on the TV and you're promoting that light shines, man. And it's just like negativity is contagious, so is positivity.
Absolutely.
Positivity is massively contagious. That's what we want to do.
Thanks, Paul. So, Rick, how about you? How do you see this changing for your world? Because you really are making a huge difference in Australian boxing. Like I sit and I see some of this. I don't see a lot of stuff on social media, but when I do see your stuff, I'm like, oh my God, I'm so proud, because I remember the conversations that we had all those years ago, and the fact that you're actually walking your talk, it's just so inspiring. So, how do you see that changing?
Yeah, it's so exciting because I feel like we've just started the journey and we've taken the first few steps now. And it's massive because a big thing that I'm doing is targeting a lot of the grassroots boxing, not just the pros. So I'm building the whole sport in Australia. And with the amateur shows that I've done, I'm going around to each of the gyms and I'm getting the young men up on the camera and speaking and building their confidence so the skills are beyond boxing. And you can see the shift already, what's happening. And it's like, okay, it's shining light on people's stories, not just on the brutality of the sport. Because a lot of the reasons why these guys actually box, this is the stories that are going to inspire other people. And my key thing is to get that message across, even by doing all the speaking and that, getting up at the events and actually talking. Like this next event that I'm going to do is talking about the transformative power of boxing. And it's for me, that's the vision. And it's slowly getting there now. And it's taken off. But I like I've got rights to do televised fight nights at the end of this year. So the reach is going to grow a lot more bigger. So it's super exciting.
I'm so excited. And just that vibrational shift again that's going to be taking place. And it's going to start, obviously, because you're based in Australia, it's going to start in Australia, but by televising it, other people are going to get to see it. And hopefully by default, we'll start to see the shows just generally around the world change. I'm so excited. It's amazing. How about you, Joe? How do you think things are going to change? The boxing environment's going to change, because obviously you're quite a big name, little bit of a big name in boxing these days, and you've got quite a decent face where boxing is concerned. So, how do you think that it's going to change from where you're sat?
Well, conflict creates growth because, like, if you get beat by someone, you want to, go back to the gym and like get better and build yourself to a point where you eventually beat that person again. So I think, um, like has a very like very much growth aspect. Like you want to improve yourself, and like obviously doing the repetition like to improve the techniques and that you're definitely going to grow from that.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, there's other points that I was going to raise, but they've slipped out.
You got into that space of no thinking again, eh? Yeah.
Yeah, I've no thing.
You
Yeah,
focus
I've
on
gone
No.
into a mental meditation.
Then you got into that Zen space.
You sat on a beach right now having a pina colada. Okay. Well, for me personally, like I'm witnessing, like I came to a show, I don't know, back in December to February. I don't bloody remember. At some point in that time, I went to a show with one of Paul's young fighter. Well, he's not young fighter, but he's an amazing fighter. He's just coming through the ranks. And Paul said, "You've got to come and watch this kid." And I remember going. And of course, I don't drink like I used to drink. And I'm sat there and I'm like, did I really used to behave like this? Like seriously. And he's like, rah, rah, rah. These people are just screaming at the ring. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious me. And that's the element of it that I see changing. I see it's not going to be booze fueled. It's going to be literally heart connection, and people are going to be so supportive, and they're going to be it's going to be stripping back that Neanderthal kind of image that it's got, and we're going to be stepping into a much higher vibration, and people are going to go in the knowing that first and foremost they're probably going to learn something from the way that people are fighting, and the other people that are there, because it's never just a fight. It's such a spectacle, isn't it? A boxing show, like there's so many different things going on. And I think that for me is the area that I see changing massively with the kind of spirits that you guys have got. You're all so different to so many of the other people in boxing. And I mean that as the biggest compliment, because, there is a lot of brutes. I know a lot of brutes that fight that literally just want to go in and pummel somebody's head. So, to see this vibration coming through and really see that, Paul as a boxing coach, Joe obviously still as a professional boxer, and Ricky now coming through as a promoter, like what better, group of people do we need to actually just change the whole environment? We just need a few decent managers out there and then we're sweet, right?
That's what I do as well, Lucy, by the way.
I think Rick's just stepping into that too.
So we've got 68.
Just throwing it out there. I think
You know what, Lucy? On the last show, I don't know if you was there in Birmingham when I done one. Because when Joe was for, I finished from the thing. I'm walking to the hotel, and there's about 5 or 6 lads, and they're going, "Paul, man, we follow you. We love it. We're following." But they was all absolutely smashed out there at the same time.
yeah, but this is
But
the
at
beauty of
least,
it, right? This is the beauty,
yeah,
because
cool.
you are so different. You're on your Instagram every day, just having a little
Yeah,
chat. And
yeah,
and you always bring the light and you always bring the love. Of course, that's such a different vibration. So it doesn't matter if they were drunk or
yeah,
not.
yeah.
It's what's going to happen is that vibration will
Yeah,
shift eventually. I'm not saying it's going to be next
celebrate the
week,
God,
but it
yeah,
will shift eventually. And to me,
yeah,
that's us stepping into new earth, right? We're just changing
yeah,
these old patterns
100%.
and creating the new.
But what's funny, Lucy, even with my events, because essentially when I used to go to the boxing events, there were a lot of gangsters, a lot of sort of thugs and that there. Now with even all the events that I'm doing, it's all family friendly events and family coming out and supporting and seeing that, and the culture has completely changed. Even my brothers, they were apprehensive about me doing them in the first place. But I said, relax. I said, it's not what you think it used to be. I said, come out and
100%.
actually, yeah. And it's so good to see that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I came to one of your events. Luckily, it overlapped when I was in Sydney back in February, and I was just so impressed with the way that it was run, the clientele that were there. It was an amazing, amazing event, and I'm so excited for you guys. So, thank you for your time, gents. I just wanted to end up with Paul. If I don't know when your next big fight is for your people, but good luck with that. If people want to train with you, you're in Wolverhampton and it's BRB
It's
back.
Wednesday. It's BCB boxing, Black Country Boxing. We've got gyms everywhere, and people from all over the country come to us. But it's the main base is in Wednesbury. It's only a
Perfect.
small place,
And
but
people
like, yeah.
just reach out to you on Instagram, yeah?
It's no on Facebook, Instagram, Google. It's on Twitter with Yeah, we're all on there. BCB boxing. Yeah.
Just put yourself out a bit, yeah?
Yeah, BCB hyphen promotions, guys. It's
Perfect.
BCB hyphen promotions. Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. And Rick, I know you've got a show 6th of June.
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, so tell us a little bit about that.
I'm actually building up the females as well. So we've got a female Oceania title fight, which should be good. And we've got 6 pros fighting, and then we've got 10 elite amateurs. And we're doing a couple of state title challenge belts and getting the young guys into it. So it's going to be a great show. It's my first sort of larger scale show with the bigger name pros, or they're up and coming pros. So, but they've got big names in the amateur scene and they're turning pro, and so it's going to be good to host them.
Amazing. And where is it being held?
It's in Bella Vista. It's in Sydney, so it's about maybe half an hour drive from Sydney CBD.
Perfect.
So yeah, look up Wanderer Promotions.
Wanderer Promotions. And this is the funny thing about Rick and I. Everyone knows me as the Wanderess. Everyone knows him as the Wanderer. It's just the way it rolls. So Wanderer Promotions, and you're on Instagram, Facebook. I guess there's a website probably somewhere as well.
Yeah, there is. Yeah. www.promotions.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. And Joe, good luck for your fight camp that is about to start.
Yeah, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, you can obviously find me on Joe Joyce Boxing on all platforms, I think.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
I think people will be able to find you pretty easily.
Maybe not in person.
No. Although for the right price, I'll tell you.
They just look up. Yeah.
Honestly, I'll be like, right, yeah, I know, I will. I'll be like, right, how much money are you going to pay me? I'll give you all the information you need on all of them. Okay, gents, it has been my absolute pleasure to have you on here today. And I know that everybody's going to love this conversation. Everybody watching, please do give your comments. And thanks to these gorgeous men for giving up an hour of their time to be here and share this perspective, which I think is so important. And please do go and follow them. Check out all of the information in the description field of this video. And I will be back with you all super soon. Gents, thank you once again. I'll see you in the next video, guys. Take care.